Let's talk about something that feels terrifyingly real. A conflict that could erupt in the Middle East in just a matter of hours, pulling in superpowers and putting the entire global economy at risk. We're going to walk through a hypothetical scenario of how a single strike could spiral into an all-out regional war.
You know, for millions of people, this wouldn't be some distant headline. It would be incredibly personal. Just imagine you're on a flight leaving Dubai. Everything's normal. Then the pilot comes on. There's a security delay. And the reason? Well, the United States and Israel have just launched a massive military attack on Iran, and the war is literally unfolding right under your plane.
And if you were on the ground, the chaos was even more real. By the evening, your social media feed would be blowing up with videos from Dubai's International Airport, one of the busiest in the world, completely evacuated, shrouded in smoke. All flights are canceled. Thousands of people are stranded. The war has, quite literally, arrived on their doorstep.
What's just so wild here is the contrast. The skies over these iconic landmarks, like the Burj Khalifa, aren't lit up with fireworks. They're flashing with air defense systems, knocking missiles and drones out of the sky. Debris from all that is falling, sparking fires near luxury hotels, and, tragically, even causing casualties in Abu Dhabi. These symbols of modern commerce have become a battlefield.
But amidst all this chaos, the UAE's air defense system was put to the ultimate test. I mean, look at this. It faced down more than 1,300 incoming threats and managed to intercept over 99% of them. That's an incredible technological achievement, for sure, but it also shows you the terrifying scale of the attack it had to fight off.
So what kicked all of this off? How did we get here? Well, it all started with a joint US-Israeli campaign that was given a pretty chilling name, Operation Epic Fury. And let's be clear, this wasn't some limited surgical strike. This was the beginning of a full-scale, multi-day military offensive.
And the stated goal? They weren't hiding it. They wanted to destroy Iran's entire missile industry, grind it into the ground. Bombs started falling on major cities like Tehran, Isfahan, and Qom. But this operation went way beyond just military targets. It was aiming right for the head of the Iranian government.
And then the news broke, the kind of news that just stops the world. Iranian state TV itself confirmed it. Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei had been killed in a direct strike on his compound. This wasn't collateral damage. This was a decapitation strike, a deliberate move to paralyze the entire regime by taking out its leader. And the precision was just chilling. Along with the Supreme Leader, members of his immediate family were also killed. Then, in a separate strike, top military commanders were taken out while they were in a defense council meeting. The strategy was crystal clear. Leave no one in charge to command a response.
But a response did come. And boy, was it swift, massive, and absolutely furious. Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC, launched what they called Operation True Promise 4. This wasn't just a simple strike back. This was a massive counterattack across the entire region.
And this is where you can really see how quickly things spiral out of control. Epic Fury was focused on wrecking Iran's military, but True Promise 4 was all about inflicting direct pain on the US, targeting 27 of its military bases, and dragging supposedly neutral countries like the UAE, Qatar, and Kuwait right into the fight.
I mean, just look at these numbers. They're insane. Over 1,100 missiles and 200 drones launched just at the UAE. There were confirmed hits on the U.S. Navy's 5th Fleet headquarters in Bahrain, and reports of smoke coming from Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar, which is basically the nerve center for all U.S. military operations in the region.
Now, a war like this doesn't happen in a vacuum. The shock waves are felt everywhere. But for a country like India, this is an absolute nightmare scenario. The country is suddenly facing a crisis on two huge fronts: the safety of its people and the stability of its entire economy.
So first, let's talk about the people. There are over 10 million Indians, that's 1 crore, living and working in the Gulf. They're the doctors, the engineers, the construction workers who helped build these places. And now, all of a sudden, they're on the front lines of a war, with their embassies telling them to use utmost caution.
And then there's India's energy lifeline. A whopping 50% of its crude oil comes through the Strait of Hormuz, that narrow little waterway that is now the absolute epicenter of this conflict. Any disruption there doesn't just mean you pay more for gas, it's a shock that could rattle the entire economy.
And to make things even messier, look at the timing of this attack. It was launched just 48 hours after India's Prime Minister wrapped up a state visit to Israel, a trip designed to build stronger ties. Talk about being in a tough spot. This puts India in an incredibly difficult diplomatic position, caught between critical partners.
So you can see how this economic nightmare unfolds. It's like a domino effect. First, Iran closes the Strait of Hormuz. Boom! India's oil supply is in jeopardy. That immediately sends fuel prices through the roof, which drives up shipping costs for everything and creates this huge wave of inflation. All of that, in turn, puts immense pressure on the national currency.
So, we've talked about the geopolitics and the economics, but underneath it all is the real cost, the human cost. And it forces us to ask a really tough question, one that history has made us ask again and again. What's the true price of these interventions?
And this is just heartbreaking. We're getting reports from the conflict zone that a strike on a girls' primary school in the Iranian city of Manab killed at least 100 children. It's a devastating reminder of who always pays the highest price in war: civilians, and especially the most innocent among them.
Now, if the justification for all this sounds a little familiar to you, well, it should. For a lot of historians, the whole story of removing a wicked, radical dictatorship to bring peace and democracy sounds exactly like the rhetoric we heard before the invasion of Iraq in 2003.
So it really forces you to ask the big question. Does using foreign military force to remove a dictator actually bring peace and stability to the people you claim you're trying to help?
I mean, the track record is pretty sobering, right? In Iraq, taking out Saddam Hussein didn't lead to a flourishing democracy. It led to a 20-year conflict and just decades of instability. In Libya, getting rid of Muammar Gaddafi created a power vacuum that led to a brutal civil war. The fear is that Iran, which is twice the size of Iraq, could follow that same tragic path, but on a much, much bigger scale.
So, here we are. The entire Middle East is on a knife's edge. Is this intervention really the start of a new era of freedom, like its supporters claim? Or are we just watching the opening act of another brutal, decades-long war? Right now, nobody knows for sure.